Thomas Schmidt has announced that he wishes to relinquish his position and the relevant documents will be submitted to the Polish embassy in Minsk.
Zrzeczenie się stanowiska.
My resignation from office was dictated by protest against the unjust policy pursued against Belarus and Russia. In the Belarusian and Russian media, he plays the role of the persecuted by Poland. Russia's largest TV channel, NTV, devoted more than 4 minutes of material to him in the main news edition. He appeared on the program of the Kremlin's chief propagandist, Vladimir Soloviev. Judge Thomas Schmidt of the Provincial Administrative Court in Warsaw is a downright invaluable to the Belarusian and Russian secret services. He has, for example, ruled on cases in which the Internal Security Agency denied access to classified information. The judge may have had access to information key for the country's security. We are almost certain today that he was a Russian spy.
Naczelny Sąd Administracyjny wszczął wobec sędziego w USA, Tomasza Schmidta, postępowanie dyscyplinarne. Sprawa dotyczy ucieczki sędziego Schmidta na Białoruś i wychwalania reżimu Łukaszenki.
The NSA said that the most severe punishment envisaged for a judge for a disciplinary offence is the punishment of the judge's dismissal from office. To date, the Chancellery of the President of the Supreme Administrative Court has not received a written statement from Thomas Schmidt, judge of the WSA in Warsaw, on his resignation from office. Interestingly, the judge was given a disciplinary sanction, specifically a reprimand, on the 25th of January 2022. The judge was alleged to have sent videos with clear erotic overtones to a journalist. The judge has in the past been the propagandist of publications. So I'll do that again. Interestingly, the judge was given a disciplinary sanction, specifically a reprimand, on the 25th of February 2022. The judge was alleged to have sent videos with clear erotic overtones to a journalist. The judge has in the past been the protagonist of publications by TVN24 and Gazeta Wyborcza attacking the United Right government. This is how Civic Platform MP Arkadiusz Mircea welcomed Thomas Schmidt to the Sejm. Due to the presence of the invited, I would like to welcome Judge Thomas Schmidt. However, the judge may soon cease to be useful to the Belarusian services. He may meet the fate of the Polish soldier Emil Czechko, who deserted to Belarus. After giving many propaganda interviews, he was found dead. In my opinion, nothing interesting awaits Judge Schmidt in Belarus. The case calls into question the effectiveness of the Polish secret services. Why did such a person function in such a high position? The whole situation shows that we need to take the reform of the secret services seriously, without political divisions. The National Public Prosecutor's Office is investigating Judge Thomas Schmidt in the direction of espionage. The European Commission has concluded that there is no longer a clear threat to the rule of law in our country within the meaning of Article 7 of the Treaty on the European Union. What has changed in Poland since 2017, when the procedure was introduced, since no changes to the law have come into force so far? The European Commission says it's all about Poland's commitment to solve problems. And many experts say that it was first and foremost about having a change of government, with Donald Tusk as Prime Minister. The question is whether such commitments can be demanded from Poland by the European Commission. The European Commission announced the end of the Article 7 procedure against Poland. Poland has launched a range of legislative and non-legislative measures to address concerns about the independence of the judiciary, has recognised the primacy of the EU law, and is committed to implementing all judgments of the Court of Justice of the European Union and the European Court of Human Rights regarding the rule of law, including judicial independence. In other words, Donald Tusk's government, without looking at the Polish constitution, recognises the supremacy of EU law over Polish law, which is contrary to the highest law of Poland. Because the Constitution in Article 8 clearly states that it is the highest law, our Constitution in Poland, and until this provision is changed, such declarations are only of a political nature. However, they have absolutely no binding force. All the more so because the Constitutional Tribunal has repeatedly ruled that the Polish Constitution is the supreme law in our country, even when the Constitutional Tribunal was headed by Professor Rzepliński, who sympathizes with the current government. The Constitutional Tribunal is supposed to protect the Constitution. Against this background, there may potentially be a conflict between the decisions of the Constitutional Tribunal and the Court of Justice. Taking into account the above, it should be stated that also due to the content of Article 8.1 of the Constitution, the Constitutional Tribunal is obliged to do so, understanding its position that in fundamental matters of systemic importance, it will retain the position of court of the last word in relation to the Polish Constitution. Constitutional tribunals or their equivalents ruled similarly in other European Union countries: France, Spain, Italy, Denmark, the Czech Republic, Romania, and even in Germany, when in 2004 they wanted to introduce a constitution for Europe. This provision has not entered into force, though now no EU official has the right to demand from the state a declaration of recognition of the superiority of European law over the national constitution. For now, the government's declaration is a typically political declaration, addressed to Brussels in a rather camouflaged way. The public didn't really know about it, so I think that this issue is very sensitive for those in power, and that's why they do it in the form of a declaration. And Brussels, currently the European Commission, accepts this declaration and thinks everything is fine. If those in power admit, contrary to the Polish constitution and the principles of international law, that EU law is more important than the Polish constitution, it is as if they were giving a significant part of Polish sovereignty to Europe in the hands of the people who run the EU, von der Leyen and other people who manage this entire mechanism in Brussels. As von der Leyen explains in the statement, the current government in Warsaw has made a breakthrough, hence the end to the slander of Poland. The question is what kind of breakthrough it is, because no laws have been implemented. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said on Monday that about 90% of the revenue generated by frozen Russian assets should go to buying weapons for Ukraine, supporting a European Union proposal to use interest payments on Russian assets to boost Ukrainian defense.
In view
of the current situation, it was important that we took a new decision to strengthen the European Peace Facility and combined this with the announcement that the funds available there can be used not only for the procurement within Europe, but also outside Europe. Because what really matters now is that weapons can be delivered as quickly as possible, and not that this only happens once a new factory has been built. We have that to do too. In March, the European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, proposed taking 90% of revenues from Russian assets frozen in Europe and transferring them to an EU-run fund that finances weapons for Ukraine.
Russia is trying to threaten all of us. So it has been always the same way. It doesn't change. And now they have the main targets, the nuclear weapons, and they're trying to push the button because we know the Ukrainian Peace Summit is coming. So they're trying to threaten those countries which are maybe now just thinking about going to Ukrainian Peace Summit. So they are showing their power. But as you may see from this today's our discussion, we know that not just we have to work with the NATO, but we have to strengthen European Union's military abilities.
Russia has threatened with nuclear arms before, and so far these have been only threats. Can we tell for certain that he's not going to use them? No, we can't, because they have done all sorts of crazy things before. But we must understand why they are making these threats, to make us refrain from the decisions that we would otherwise make. So I think we shouldn't give in to that. Thank you.
Of course, with the decision of German government, there are more issues that we need to take account, mainly civic infrastructure. But I think our ministries of defense are on a very good track of finalizing this agreement, and we will be able to sign the relative documents and ratify the documents related to status of German Brigade Lithuania in the parliament this fall. So this is a top priority for my government. We are progressing in a very high speed, and I have no doubt that we will make it a story of success.
Moreover, we have a consensus in Europe that we want to utilize the windfall profits from Russian frozen assets. This is a considerable amount, amounting to several billion a year, and we have also reached an agreement there, which is currently being finalized, that we also want to use around 90% of these funds for Ukrainian defense purposes, and that there is no commitment to procurement in Europe. Two important statements that are very, very significant in this respect. And now it is important that everyone looks again at what they can do, because now, in particular, there is also the decision to be made to utilize your own options for action from your stocks, just as we have now done with the third Patriot system. Some 70% of all Russian assets are mobilized in the West are held in the Central Securities Depository Euroclear in Belgium, which has the equivalent of 190 billion euros worth of Russian central-backed securities in cash. Germany and the three Baltic states are pushing for a rapid expansion of arms production in Europe, Scholz said, adding production of ammunition and air defense systems had already been increased. Chinese President Xi Jinping said he was willing to start a new journey of Sino-French cooperation during talks with French President Emmanuel Macron at the Élysée Palace on Monday. Xi is in France for a two-day state visit, opening his European tour. I am willing to start a new journey of Sino-French cooperation. Both sides should adhere to the regional aspiration of the establishing of diplomatic relations on independence, mutual understanding, forward-thinking, mutual benefit, and win-win results, and inject new connotations of the times into it. In Paris, Xi first joined a meeting with Macron and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, meant to address broader European Union concerns. China and France must maintain independence, jointly prevent a new Cold War or confrontation between camps, insist on mutual understanding, and jointly promote harmonious coexistence in a colourful world. We must persist in being far-sighted and jointly promote an equal and orderly multipolar world. The discussions will be closely watched from Washington a month before President Joe Biden is expected to pay his own state visit to France. We must uphold mutually beneficial cooperation and win-win, jointly oppose decoupling, chain-breaking, and building of walls and barriers. Xi's visit marks the 60th anniversary of France-China diplomatic relations and follows Macron's trip to China in April 2023.